Hello everyone, welcome to the second video of this 5-part training series called Habits of the Happy, Living a Life That You Love. This 5-part series started off last time with our first video that specifically talked about the habits you have with yourself. And I'm Natalie Peterson, I'm hosting this training series, and today we're going to talk about habits of the happy, the relationship you have with others. So I am so committed to living a happy life. And that doesn't mean that nothing gets me down. It doesn't mean that there aren't bad days. I'm definitely a human being and I definitely have ups and downs, but I believe that happiness is a choice. It's something that we can decide to commit ourselves to. And happiness doesn't come as a result of something. It doesn't come in the future. It comes through a courageous act and a decision to do something about your happiness state, whether you feel like your life is full or whether you feel like you're always wanting more. I believe that you have the choice to guide your thoughts, to guide your actions, and then as a result of that, making that conscious choice to live a happy life. And happiness isn't something that just comes easily. It's not something that we can just bounce into by following a couple of how-tos. And so what I really hope that you get out of these videos is some simple truths that you can try to live your life by. A couple things, maybe one or two from each presentation that you can commit to having a little bit more of in your life. And when it comes to habits, these are the things that we do all the time. These are the things and behaviors that recur a lot of times, oftentimes, without even thinking about it. And there's a lot of information out there on how to build habits, how to develop them, how to break them, how to start new ones. And you hear all the time, takes 29 days to build a habit, 21 days to build a habit, 15 repeated exposures until something solidifies in your brain. But what I have found and what I believe is that there is no one number of days or times that you try a certain activity that ensure it becomes a habit in your life. There's actually quite a wide range of between 18 and 264 days that it could take you to build a new habit. So that being said, anything that I talk about in terms of the habits of happy people, give yourself time. Commit to one or two of these things and see if you can start to practice it more often, but don't give up after just a month. Or if you listen to this webinar and you think it's really great and you try to implement a few of these things in your life, but you realize a couple days later that, it's not working, I don't feel any better, well, you have to give it time. You have to be patient with yourself. And so as we look at developing habits, habits are something that have the power to build us up and to fill us with so much joy and energy and better our lifestyle, but they also have the ability to just crush us. One bad habit could send me on a spiral of no productivity, complete feeling of just being crushed and lost and not knowing what to do next. Whereas one or two of these happy habits could send me little by little in the other direction. And habits are really, really easy to form if they're negative habits. Negative habits are something that you can form so easily because the delayed gratification that comes from building positive habits isn't there. When you're starting a negative habit or a negative loop, it can start almost immediately, where making changes to build instead on the other side happy habits, positive habits, they take a lot of work and a lot of time to build, and then they can also be destroyed very quickly. So staying committed to habits of happy people is something I hope that this video series helps you with. And last time we talked about the relationship that you have with yourself, and today I want to talk about the relationship you have with others. I believe so much of our lives are formed by the relationships that we have, and not only with ourselves, but with other people. And so I have my top 10 habits of the relationships you have with others. And the first one starts with the fact that happy people choose their relationships very wisely. And this picture on the screen is of me on my wedding day. And as you can see, I was very happy despite the pouring down rain, despite the mud and not being able to get married outside, despite someone breaking their wrist at my rehearsal dinner. I was happy anyway. I was happy because of the person I was spending my life with. Not only did that person make me better, but he brought out the best in me. So certain things that may have in the past caused me to just spiral out of control with anxiety and doubt and fear, oh, was it a sign that it rained? Is it, bad luck to have someone break their arm on your wedding day? Instead, I was able to take that stuff all in stride because I had learned from so many mistakes of not choosing my relationships wisely. And instead of staying on the same track with a romantic relationship and choosing someone who didn't always make me better and who didn't always bring out the best in me, I chose to spend my life with someone who did just that. And in so many ways, I believe he is better than me. And I look to him for how I can get better, how I can live my life with a little bit more kindness, a little bit more patience. And so I encourage you to take a look at the current relationship that you're in and see not only is that person making you better, but are you doing what you can to make them better? So it's not just a one-way street. You don't just get to take from that other person, but hopefully you're able to push them and elevate them to another level. And I would hope that if you asked my husband, you would say that I did the same for him. But choosing your relationships wisely is something that takes a lot of practice. And we don't only need to choose our relationships wisely when it comes to the person we spend our life with, but we need to choose the relationships with friends and family wisely. And we need to get rid of the energy vampires in our lives. We need to take a good look at who is bringing happiness, energy, joy, and freedom to our life. What are the relationships you have that don't cause you any stress or anxiety? And what are the relationships or friendships that you have that you tend to dread when that person is calling you? You tend to not look forward to spending time with them because they never have anything good to say. They don't ever have anything uplifting or positive to say, and they tend to take you down with them. And I'm not suggesting that you cut friends and family out of your life if you recognize that they might be an energy vampire. I'm merely suggesting that you take a look at the relationships that you have and then possibly start to strategize the time you spend with them. Start to think about the kind of energy that you give and also the amount of energy that you allow them to take from you. And it's going to take some practice, especially if certain energy vampires are your family, because family, I believe, is so important. And to have a relationship with the people that are closest to you and your family and your friends, I wouldn't suggest at all that you just cut them off. But you may need to start to practice shielding yourself. Maybe it's saying a prayer or a mantra before you get on the phone or before you go hang out, and you just block yourself with some white light, with whatever you can visually, a wall, a brick wall, whatever visually works for you, so that you've protected. There's a little bubble around you, and that no matter what this person has to say, no matter how the interaction goes down, you have a certain amount of energy to give, and you certainly don't have any of your positive, radiant joy available for someone to take away from you. And it's something that you may have to work on, and you may have to try out different things, see what works and see what doesn't. But when you choose your relationships wisely, you're selective about how often you allow those energy vampires into your life. So in addition to choosing relationships wisely, happy people also talk about real stuff. And I love this quote by Eleanor Roosevelt. Great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, and small minds discuss people. And I myself can fit into all of these categories, depending on the day, depending on where my mind is at, how much social media I have indulged in that day. But when I think about the discussions I have about other people, even if it's with a good friend or someone who is a person who does uplift me, when I know that I'm discussing people and taking part in gossip or celebrity, social media, all that we're saturated with so much and that we can't always escape from, I do agree with Eleanor Roosevelt. I do believe that that's small-mindedness. And I do believe that if I spent all of my time discussing people and discussing things outside of myself, that people I don't even know, people that I don't know their story, that I can't possibly have any right to make judgment on, I don't think that leads to my happiness. And now if I'm discussing another person because I'm worried about them or I want to reach out to them, that's one thing. There's a difference between that helpful discussion of other people and something that's just, from TV or from the news or some gossip you heard through the grapevine or from Twitter. So, and then average minds discussing events. So this is something, again, that can start to pull us down. If all we're talking about is events of the future or events of the past, it's not really doing anything to build us up. Whereas I know when I'm talking to some of my best friends or some of the people that I mastermind with or my husband, my family, discussing ideas and discussing new ways to do things and ways to build my business or for them to build theirs or what we want to design our life to look like, I automatically feel a shift in my adrenaline. My energy becomes a little more, I'm hoping, contagious. It starts to pour out of me. I can be a little bit more of a reserved person, a very paced, steady person. But when I talk about big ideas, I talk faster. I get excited. I'm left with this euphoric feeling. So I encourage you to think about just how much you're allowing your conversations to circle around just people and things you hear on the news, and how much of your time you're spending discussing your dreams and your goals and the things you want to do. And life gets so busy that even the people that you live with, you sometimes don't find time for these conversations. And the happiest people that I know, they take time to talk about real stuff. They turn off the TV, they shut off the social media, and they discuss big dreams, ideas, goals. Talking about these things, it motivates you, it gets you that momentum to help propel you towards taking action on it. And I truly believe that when we talk about real stuff, when we put things out into the universe, it is so much more likely that those things will actualize. I believe that when you talk about real stuff, you set things in motion. Things start to happen. Whereas we're just discussing people, we're discounting ourselves. We're discounting how much power we can have to make not only our lives better, but to increase the life and the satisfaction that other people feel. So talk about real stuff. And also connect in person with the people that mean the most. I can sometimes be guilty of getting a little bit stressed out about things and canceling on plans, not going to parties, thinking I'm too busy to spend time with people that make me laugh, like the people are on the screen right now. And I know that when I instead see the people that I love and that uplift me, when I see them in person, when I actually spend time with them, when I can offer them a hug and I can just see their faces and see the smile on their face, that brings me a lot of happiness. And I've had the same best friends since I was 5 years old. I'm 29 now, so we have been friends for 24 years, and there is nothing better than connecting in person. And I encourage each one of you to think about who is someone in your life that you love and adore and always makes you feel so great. Think about that person and ask yourself, when was the last time that you saw them? When was the last time that you spent face-to-face quality time? And for some of you, that might require getting on a plane. And it's not that easy these days to be traveling with how busy we are and with the cost of flights. But we never want to get too busy for the people that mean the most to us. And in addition, on the other side of things, I work from home by myself in an office. Luckily, it has a window overlooking some mountains, so that gives me a little bit of energy. But I also know that I'm happiest when I'm around other people. Even if these people are not my absolute best friends in the world, when I make a point to have a face-to-face meeting with somebody where we can connect, share ideas, talk about real stuff, that just sets a tone for the rest of the day. It uplifts me. It makes me more creative. When I'm connecting in person with people, I find that my mind is ignited in a way that I can't ignite it all by myself. And so if you are someone who works in an office alone, or even if you work in an office but you have a door that closes and you don't tend to connect, who can you walk around and go talk to that maybe isn't a part of your direct team? What project might you need help with that talking with another person could start to fuel some of those ideas? And we have holidays coming up. So who can you connect with and see? Who's going to be in town that you haven't seen in a while? The next habit of happy people and their relationship with others is that they build a strong support system. And this support system is going to look different for everybody. I have always been someone that has a few best friends. I have some acquaintances, but you would say that most of my friendships are with people that I'm really close with and that I talk with all the time. And you see the picture on the screen of me and my two sisters, and I am so close with them. I feel like I could call them any day, at any time, and they would have my back. And my sisters have, I think, more friends than I do. Their support system is built just a little bit differently, and they probably support each other differently than I support them. But we are rock solid. We are super close. And I mentioned the best friends that I've had since I was 5. Again, they are just people that I can turn to any chance I get, anything I need. This wasn't always the case, though, that I could rely on all of these people. I've made decisions to push people away at times. The darkest times in my life, when I wasn't choosing relationships wisely, when I wasn't getting rid of the energy vampires in my life, were times when I didn't have a strong support system, or I didn't feel like I had a strong support system, because I would just push people away. I made them feel uninvited. So if you're thinking now that you don't have a strong support system, ask yourself, why not? Think back to a time when you did have a strong support system and think about what you were doing differently. Things change and people change, and the friends that you have in your life may shift over time, but you always have the ability to build that strong support system. And maybe it's about forgiveness. Maybe it's about going to someone and telling them you're sorry. And I've had to do that with my sisters, my very best friends. A time in my life when I had pushed them away and I wasn't close with them and I didn't feel like I could trust them or anyone. It had nothing to do with them. It was all on me. It was all on me and the choices I was making in my relationships with people that led to me having no support system. And then the picture of that group of guys there, that's also another picture from our wedding. And that is all of the guys that came out to our wedding all the way to California from Minnesota to support my husband. And these are all guys in their mid-30s who have been friends since high school. And that's the support system that my husband has kept. He has kept a solid, strong group of people, and it wasn't without effort. It has survived moves and marriages and kids and the army and different life events happening. But through it all, I think 7 out of maybe 10 of his closest guy friends, again, from high school, made the trip with their families all the way across the country so that they could be there to support him. Obviously, he's been making good decisions in how he supports those relationships. And then the last picture on the page is just a little throwback picture of my puppy there. He's the second one from the end there back when he was a little guy. And that's just a little picture for you of the support system that he was starting to build even as a little guy. He made sure he was protected. But to get back to it, happy people have people that they can lean on. And sometimes it just comes from looking within yourself and allowing yourself to be vulnerable, allowing yourself to need other people, allowing yourself to trust people. And start small. Start with one person that you feel like you can trust that would be there for you. And start building that strong support system that will be there for you for the rest of your life, that will support you, that will uplift you, and that will help you gain some of that happiness back when, like all of us, we have days that are up and days that are down. The next habit of happy people in their relationship with others is that they ignore naysayers, haters, and negative people. Sometimes the happier you get, the more haters you're going to have. The better you do, the more people try to bring you down. And the one thing that I'd like to say about this is to remember that these people have their own agenda and that it has absolutely nothing to do with you. And that's not always easy to remember because it's right in your ear, it's right in your face. You hear it either directly given to you through words or through email or something on social media, or you could hear it through the grapevine. But either way, if someone is trying to leak their negative energy on you, the same idea of getting rid of those energy vampires. Know that it doesn't have anything to do with you and put on your noise canceling headphones and ignore it. Worrying about it, letting it eat at you is going to do nothing to uplift your own happiness. And that leads us right into our next habit, is that happy people know when to walk away. Man, over the years, there have been some friendships that have ended, some relationships that have ended, and it's really tough to know when to walk away. And it's really tough to allow yourself to do that. But the happiest people I know, they realize when it's time to cut off friendships, relationships, time to leave a job, or even to walk away from a business venture. And in my life, I've had to walk away from 3 out of those 4. So far, I haven't had to walk away or say no to a business venture, at least something that I've started. And I hope that I don't have to. But I also hope that I have the strength and the power to know when it's time to hold on versus when it's time to walk away, when it's time to let it go. I teach a leadership class to kids, and they're in middle school, so they're 12 and 13-year-olds, and we talk a lot about their values and their virtues. And so a virtue is something that they hold to be morally true, something that is most important to them morally, internally, how they're going to be driven to live their life. And that could be something such as honesty or loyalty, could be courage. And then we also talk about what they value in their life. So their friendships. A lot of them value their phone and their video games too, but a lot of what I hear is that they value their friends and they value their family. We talk about the truth of the matter being that there are going to be times when your values, so your friends, the friendships that you hold, are going to be in conflict with your virtues. There's going to be times when something's going to happen in a relationship, in a friendship, that goes completely against your moral code. And it's going to be one of the most difficult decisions that you have to make. But there may come a time when you have to walk away from one of these things. And I've had to do it. I've had to do it in friendships and relationships. And there is a lot of wasted energy and time that I've spent questioning myself. It's always appropriate to look at things and analyze, is it the right thing to walk away or is it not, before you make that decision. It's always good to discern what is the right thing to do for you. But once you've made that decision, know that you have the right to do that. And do your best to not question yourself if something in a particular relationship or job or business venture has gone completely against what you hold to be morally correct in your life. Because if you live according to your morals and what you value most, and that means that at some point you have to walk away from someone or something, know that you've done so holding on to what you know to be true in your heart. And at the end of the day, that is what is important, and that is what is going to lead to your thriving happiness. And it's not easy. It is a balance. It is knowing when you need to work a little harder and knowing when it's time to let it go. Happy people have learned to say no. And this message delivered in this way, that one quick no is easier than 100 maybes. I learned that, I think, most clearly at my last job with one of my mentors, Todd Durkin. And he always said that one quick no is easier than 100 maybes. And being somebody like myself who just is a people pleaser, and I don't want ever to have to say no to somebody because I don't want anyone to be upset with me, what I have learned is that happy people say no quickly. They let the person know that it's just not going to work out. And even though that person may be disappointed for a short amount of time, they do and they will respect you for being honest and upfront from the beginning, rather than leading them down this path of maybes. Or even worse, I've had a situation where I said I could do something, and then after reflecting and looking at my schedule, I realized that I couldn't commit to this class that I said I would teach, and I had to call the person back and really let them down this time. So happy people set those boundaries. They learn to say no when it's in the best interest of their life. And that goes back to what we talked about last time in the last video, talking about taking care of yourself. And sometimes it means setting that boundary of saying no. Happy people also learn from others. I had a conversation with Don Brown, who is my dad. For those of you who are listening and know both of us, he said to me recently, I'd like to think that I can learn something from everyone I meet. And I thought that was such a cool thing to say, especially someone like my dad who is who I would consider a very happy, very successful person. He knows a lot of stuff about a lot of things, but I have always admired the fact that growing up, he was never afraid to try something new. He would come to yoga class with me. He would start playing soccer at age 40, never playing the game in his life. And it taught me how to learn from other people as well. And if you're able to learn from others, you're able to find the missing puzzle pieces in your life. Learning new things is the only way that you can get to the next level. It's the only way that you're going to change your life. And whether you learn something from other people, whether you learn something from a book, either way, it's gathering knowledge and adding value to your life. The more value you add, the more purpose you add, the happier you become. Happy people are genuinely nice to people for no reason. Have you ever tried out on a bad day when you really don't even feel like leaving the house? Have you ever tried just sparking up a conversation with somebody you see on the street, holding the door for somebody, giving someone a big smile, even when you don't feel like it and when there's really no reason to? If you have, I bet your reflection on that incident will be that it uplifted you a little bit. To see that you brought a little joy into someone else's life brought a little bit of joy into yours as well. And if you can spread love and happiness, if you can make someone else's day every day, that will make you happier. So even if you're not in that good of a mood, even if what you really want to do is cut the person off with your grocery cart because you could probably get there a little bit faster, if you let them go in front of you, if you give them that smile, seeing their reaction, their positive, happy reaction, because of the mirror neurons that are in our brains, you will automatically have an empathic response. In other words, you will automatically reflect those same emotions and brighten up your day, become a little bit more happier yourself. And the last habit I have to share with you today is that happy people express gratitude. The same way as developing negative habits is so easy, I also think that focusing on the negative is something that's so easy for us to do. It's easy for our brains to get in that loop and get into that spiral. And I don't know how you express gratitude, whether it's through quiet reflection, whether you journal, whether you pray, whether you practice yoga. But to take a gratitude inventory every day, once a week, whenever it comes to mind, that is one of the most fulfilling things that you can do for yourself. And it's one of the surest ways to get just a little bit happier about your situation. To go through and at any moment know that you are grateful for so many things is going to uplift your mood. It's going to help you stand a little taller, breathe a little deeper. And for me, I take time myself personally to express gratitude when I'm on my yoga mat. I have the quiet time. I am drawing my senses in, and whenever I find my mind wandering, I can always come back to a gratitude inventory during any moment of stillness. So those are the 10 habits of happy people and the relationship that they have with others. And I really hope that you enjoyed today's video. I hope that you're gaining at least one habit from each of these video series. And I hope that you can join me next week when I talk about the habits of happy people and their relationship with life. So I'm going to talk about some of the most common behaviors. I was really specific in these last 2 trainings about relationships with yourself and relationships with others. Next time, I'm going to be talking about the most common relationship with life behaviors that happy people engage in. And I'd love it if you connect with me on Facebook or Twitter. And if you ever have anything that you want to talk about with me, there's my email up on the screen, natalie@nataliepeterson.net. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining me today. Talk to you next time.